Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
Yo, freestyle battle ready. Who's next to catch Rex? I snap next when I flow. It's that cat, the J.O. Straight living in Waco, but I'm straight from Cuero. Just chillin'. Listen to the beats I'm spilling. Keeping it thrillin', stillin'. Got your bullet filling, killing. Your turn.
Hey, I live in Texas. No, I don't drive a Lexus. I drive a Ford.
But I got diamonds on my necklace.
And sometimes I get bored up in here with these people. And
my church has a steeple,
and I got all the money in the world. And
wait, what?
I feel like that's what rappers say.
And what's up?
She's like,
I'm over here
she's like, don't make me sing. Don't make me sing.
I would rather sing than
you could have came in for like
God
the backup,
is great.
the
God
background.
Is good.
You could have been like,
let us thank him for
all the money in the world.
Okay,
guys, I feel like we really need to talk about something you guys need to congratulate me for.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, your fish.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Today on my way here, I was like, we've got to talk about that on the podcast. Guys.
Did you really catch that?
He
Yes,
really did.
that really caught it.
That picture of you holding it, where you're like this and like smiling real big, that was funny.
That
was good.
Fake,
I need to show you the video.
You haven't shown him the video?
He hasn't seen the video.
What's the
Okay,
video?
Because it's so
you would lose
humiliating.
so much
Where
respect
were
for
you?
me if you have
I was
much.
at my in-laws' house. So they
Orange Beach.
Yeah, in Orange Beach, Alabama.
You caught it from the shore?
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
He said
it
it was like basically
tarpon?
just swimming up next to
It's
them.
a black drum.
Black drum.
So it's a. I mean, there's a lot of things that are a little bit less impressive about it. We're like
There's a black drum in there.
Please tell more of the
So
story.
we're like just sitting on their like deck, and they're like on a bay, and we see this like two massive fish swimming up against the like shore.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily shore, but there's like rocks, and her dad's got a bunch of fishing poles. So he grabs a fishing pole, puts a shrimp on it, and he's like, "Hey, throw it in there." So I just like drop it in right where I see the fish, and it just immediately bites.
Wow.
And I'm reeling it.
Fishing though. I mean, that's like
I guess that's true.
that's
Don't
hard to
sell
like.
yourself short.
That's hard to do. I mean,
Yeah.
How
I
long
mean,
hard
did
to
it
catch
take
a
you to
fish you
reel it
see.
in?
It was like at least 10 minutes. I mean, it was like a 50-pound fish.
It looked huge.
Yeah. And
So
so
then-
I'm just taking forever.
Yeah.
My biceps, which are already big, were already like so sore.
Yeah.
I like want to give up.
Show the people on
We
YouTube.
don't have
Yeah,
to
here's-
do that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
guys
here-
make me
yeah.
Those
very-
are wow. Those are massive.
It's hot. It works.
Pipes. Was that what we? That was a debate once upon a time.
Yeah.
So we get the fish out, and I do not want to touch this fish at all. Like,
If you watch
that's
the
the
video,
video.
you will.
I mean, so my father-in-law's holding it by the lips, and I'm like, I ain't touching those lips. They're just like wet and like
Gross.
like
Fish
wrinkly
lips are
and
so
like
gross.
it was
Wrinkly.
so
So
gross. He's like,
gross.
grab it. I'm like, no, I'm not grabbing it. So then I hold it like a
You
baby.
literally
Willie-
squealed.
Willie
You
Robertson.
squealed like a little girl.
Boss hog, man, your boy
But you did
is
catch it.
struggling.
I really thought
next
he
next
caught
book
it and
he comes on here for.
Yeah.
He's gonna be really impressed.
Wow.
Can't wait to talk about it again.
Fishing.
So that's a big deal.
I saw that on the old gram. I was
Yeah.
like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I tagged him too. I sent it to him actually.
Man.
Come
He
on,
didn't
Willie.
respond, but
I
that's
didn't even
okay.
get a text back. That hurts a little bit.
Unbelievable.
Man.
Unbelievable.
No, I'm
That's
not
good.
concerned about your fishing experiences.
Yeah. So now I can wear my fish shirts and
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you
a
had a real-
fisherman. You have
Yeah.
caught a fish.
exactly
Have you
right.
caught a fish?
Probably not.
Kathy, you have Monica's memory.
I actually am very worried I'm gonna have
I mean,
dementia.
I mean, really, you're like, I
Parkinson's
don't
or something.
remember.
Here's the
She,
thing.
I
don't
think it's
think I
convenient
have.
things that she can't
That's
remember.
I know, man. I
I'll
know.
remember
I
some
don't
things
remember who
forever.
I voted for. Okay.
All I'm saying is I don't like fishing. I'm not trying to go out there and be a fisherman. Fish are disgusting. I don't eat
So
them.
you're
I
not
don't
trying
like
to be a
look at
fisherman?
'em. I don't want to touch the worms, the bait. Matt loves fishing, so he can just fish, and I'll read a book, and sounds great.
Wow.
But like I feel like that's like different for guys. You guys need to catch fish to prove your manhood, and I don't have any manhood to prove.
Yeah.
So sexist,
Yeah,
man. I am.
you should
I
send
am.
me some
I don't even know what
sick
to.
and
I don't even know what to
tired
do with that.
of the
Yeah.
sexist relationships on it. I mean, sexist comments, not relationships. Comments. What?
Hey, I can be a man without fishing.
You're drooling everywhere. What is wrong
I
with
know you can. I'm just saying things to stir the pot, right? That's what we're supposed to do. Our role is to stir the pot on this
Stir
podcast.
the pot. Let's get canceled.
Get
Come
people
on.
mad at us. Speaking of
Okay,
this
I have a
podcast-
question.
Yeah.
Ask me anything, Nate. Nathaniel, by all means, you have the floor. Please ask. Please ask your
Trying to
question.
figure out what to ask.
Please inquire if you'd like.
So if you're like, hey, Nate, can we go out to dinner on Friday? I'm like, totally, absolutely.
Wait, what? You like slurred that a little bit.
if
you're like, it's like you're like, hold on.
Sorry,
you're
no,
like
well,
on the
never mind.
presidential debate or
Oh my
something.
gosh.
Oh.
If you're like, hey, let's go out to dinner Friday. Go out to dinner Friday.
There you go.
Thanks. And I'm like, totally. I would love to. Nothing more that I would like to do on Friday night. And then it's like Friday at 4 o'clock. And I'm like, hey, JP, I'm so sorry. Something just came up. Can't make it. Is that the right way for me to handle that interaction?
Yes.
Definitely. Great job.
Good. I feel at peace.
I'm impressed he asked you to dinner.
Yeah.
No, hypothetically, yeah, to be clear, that's like, he is.
That's why it's a
It's a
hypothetical
real
situation.
stretch.
I don't even think he has my number.
I lost it. Well, you changed it and didn't give it to me.
That's right. Yeah. So how important are keeping commitments?
I feel like it. Like, is it something that you just think is important, or is it something that?
What?
I was trying to like ask a dumb question, and it was really dumb.
And then she got hit by a tree.
I was trying to be like, oh, is that just worldly wisdom, keeping your commitments? But I know it's not, because you just preached a sermon on this.
I mean, I
does
think
Jesus
people
say about
in
it?
their 20s, this is one of the things they struggle with
Honestly.
Oh wow.
perhaps the most.
Oh wow.
I know.
no.
Oh,
and
wow.
you, the next generation,
Coming after an
stinks.
entire
You guys-
generation. You guys listen up. So Jesus says in Matthew 5, you have heard it said that you're to keep your oaths. And he says, don't even make an oath. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And I think what he's saying is, live your life in such a way that everyone knows that when you say yes, you mean it. And so we run a church, right? Local expression of the church with lots of volunteers. And so you can kind of say, all right, this is the volunteer list this week. This is who's working camera. This is who's working lights.
Mm-hmm.
This is who's singing. This is who's playing bass. There's names on there that you're like, oh man, that's awesome. That person's such a blessing. They're so faithful.
Yeah.
Christian Torres, right? It comes
Right.
to mind. It's like, dude, you
the
see him.
best.
It's like, man, that's gonna be amazing. He's gonna be here. He's gonna be here early.
Yep.
You're not worried
He's-
about anything. You
yeah.
see him serving, you're like, we're
He's
good.
incredible. And then there's names on there that you're like, oh man.
Coley Taylor,
We bet no.
I was like, we're not going to say any of those.
Coley, not Coley. Coley's
Derek
awesome.
Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's just say it says Derek. You're like, okay, he might be there. You know, I'm kidding. We're kidding. We love Derek. One of our most faithful listeners, by the way. But there's a person that is on there and you're like, she might show up. He might show up. We better get a backup person for them, right? That person is a miserable, awful, terrible steward of the gospel.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's-
I feel like
What
we
is-
were just talking about them showing up to serve.
Like Jesus talks
you're
about like
saying that?
agents of hell. I'm telling you, Satan is having their way with having his way with the generation in that we're flaky. And if you're flaky, you're trying to tell someone about someone who died and came back to life. Why are they going to believe you if you can't show up to the movies Saturday night at 7 p.m. when you said you're going to be there?
Dang.
Like if you say, hey, I'll be there Saturday at 7 to the movies, and then you text them on the way and you're like, hey, sorry, something came up. I'm just saying, you're a terrible representation of Christianity.
Wow.
That's what the scripture says. That's what Jesus is saying. He's like, hey, you've heard it said, keep your oaths. That's real.
We'll just ask someone who has struggled in the past with flakiness. This is making me feel really...
Yeah, everybody knows.
I mean,
that's why
like,
you don't work here anymore.
Like, think about that. What if you say, hey, I'll be there at the movie, trust me, and then you're not, and then next week you're having a conversation about faith, and it's like,
No.
Jesus rose from the dead, trust me.
Yeah, trust me. He really did. You're
It's
like,
like,
oh,
whatever.
really?
And
Really?
if
And
you-
we're so non-committal because of FOMO. Like, it's
Yes.
like, they're like, oh, yeah, maybe.
Something
I want
better
to keep
could
my
come
options
along.
open. And something better comes along. No,
that feels
Christians
opposite of the gospel as well.
Christians make and keep
Yeah.
commitments, and it's an art, and you've got to learn how to do it. And it's in the Bible. In Psalm 15, it says, the person who the Lord esteems, who will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, is the one who keeps their commitments even when it hurts.
Wow.
They keep their oath even when it hurts, is what it says.
Wow.
Like, so, yeah, we keep our commitments.
So what do you do when this happened recently with us? Let's say it was either me or my wife. I don't know. And
Selective memory loss.
someone asked us to do something. Someone asked one of us to do something, and we like looked at our schedule and it was like, man, we really can't. Like the answer is no. But like, how do you say no? Like if someone asks you to do something,
You say no. Like, that's why I think the Fully Leveraged Life, that episode we did, I think the person who is most yielded to the Spirit and they're free from the fear of man or the need for approval, like they're able to say, no, can't do that.
and it's just, but what if that person or that friend group doesn't ask you the next time because they're like, hey, he said
so are
no.
you saying
Oh,
you should
so-
like cancel whatever
Yeah.
plan you had?
I
in order
don't
to
know.
make
It's
that
like-
one?
So then what happens is they don't ask you next time.
Well, then I can't live with that.
Oh, but you have to. To not live with that is to be an agent of Satan. I mean, I'm saying, I'm kind of firing for effect, even though Jesus says it. It's to say that the enemy's having his way with me. I'm living with this constant FOMO,
Right.
fear of better option, fear of missing out, this low grade hum of, and social media feeds this because you see
Totally.
that
You
you
see
got
what you
left
missed
out.
out
You
on.
see what everybody's doing, and you just like, you gotta swim above that and be like, listen, I want to live my life for the kingdom of God. To say yes to something is to say 100 no's.
Yeah.
I mean, when Monica said yes to marrying me, she said no to 4 billion guys.
Yeah.
To choose something is to not choose lots of other things. So every yes is lots of no's, and when you say no, you're creating space, you're creating margin, and that's valuable.
What about like Friday nights Friday nights coming up, and you have a few people ask you to do things. Can you say yes to 2 different options, and then like a Friday afternoon be like, okay, which one do I actually want to go to? And then like,
Or even say like, oh, we'll see.
yeah.
We'll see. Let's see how it goes.
Say that again.
Like let's say it's 2 people have asked you to
Yeah.
hang out Friday
Uh-huh.
night, 2 groups of friends.
Yeah.
And you're like, totally, yes. And then Friday you kind of decide, hey, I think this is the better option. And you
Yeah.
just choose the better option.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hey, or just not show up at the other place. Is
Yeah.
that an issue?
It's a sin.
Dang.
It's a sin to live that way. I love to keep things really clear for people. And so it's not honoring to somebody who's made in the image of God. It's not respectful, and you lose credibility, and no one trusts you because you're flaky. So I'm just telling you, Christians make and keep commitments even when better options come along. But like, let's say you committed to go to the movies Friday night, 7 p.m. Okay, so Friday night, you ask me the movies. I say, yeah, I'm in Friday night at 7. And then let's say my mom says, hey, I'm coming through town, haven't seen the kids in forever. I would love to go to dinner. And I'm like, shoot, I see my mom, 4 times a year, 5 times a year. I need to see my mom. She's coming through town, but I've committed to going to movies with you. So, like, I think the way people do this is like, hey, can't go, something came up. Like that's not what we do. What I did when I told you I would see the movies with you Friday at 7, I'm gonna teach you guys something. So if you're listening, like, lean in, write this down. This is important. It's gonna serve you really well. So I told you I'd be there Friday at 7. My mom's coming to town now. What I need to do is I need to go to you And this is a principle. It's a wisdom principle. I'm not going to chapter and verse it. We don't need to be legalistic about it. If you have a better way of doing it, do your better way. But if you don't have a better way, here's a way for you to consider. I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say, hey, Nate, I know I told you, I want to acknowledge my commitment. I know that I told you that I would be there Friday at 7 to see a movie. My mom reached out and she's coming into town now. I didn't know that when I committed that to you. May I please have that commitment back? Because what I did was I gave you the gift of my time, right? So just picture a present wrapped in a package. Like, hey, here's my commitment. I'm giving you the gift of my commitment. I'll be there Friday at 7. You've made plans around it. Like, you probably weren't going to go to the movie by yourself. So you're like, hey, I'm going to go to the movie now because you're going to go. And so I said no to other things because I'm planning to be there for you. So in an effort to honor you, I'm going to say, and I'm going to give you the information. I'm not going to manage it. I'm not going to say something came up. Hey, something really important is happening. When we do that, when we manage information, what we're really doing is, hey, I don't think you're going to, I don't trust that you're going to think my reason is good enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I want to manage it, right?
Yes.
Well, and then if all you said, hey, something came up, I'm thinking he doesn't like me, or there's something going on between us, or like.
Yeah, the truth is always, my dad used to say this all the time, the truth is always good enough.
Yeah.
The truth is always good enough. So I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say, hey, Nate, I know I told you that I would be there Friday at 7. My mom is now coming through town. May I please have that commitment back? And you can answer yes, no, or maybe. You know, you now, and I've done this many times, no one's ever said no. But if they did, then you got a decision to make. But usually they feel so honored by that ask. They're like, of course, I totally understand. Gosh, your mom's coming to town. I get it, you know. And if they're a reasonable person, they're going to let you out of that commitment. And in the way that you backed out of that commitment, they're honored, and they feel great about that. And so
if it's this much work to get out of a commitment that we made, is there any wisdom in like being slow to say yes to someone, to maybe like even let your options stay open, say, hey, I'll let you know Friday at 5 if I can go?
Yeah, I think if you say, I'll let you know Friday at 5, but if they're like, hey, I've got to make plans, like it's going to sell out, we need to, so I think you have to, all of the situations are different. Like a movie is fairly inconsequential,
Right.
but there are situations where it's like, man, I've got to buy tickets. We've got to figure out travel arrangements. Like, I need to know if you're going to Mexico with us or not. I need to get this hotel room or this hotel. And so there's some, not all decisions are created equal. And I think you're going into that like, hey, how do I honor those around me? And treat them with dignity and respect and care for them in a way that earns and warrants credibility, so that when I steward the gospel, which is a story about a man who died and came back to life, when I tell people that, they're like, well, of course we believe you because everything you say is true and you're reliable and you're trustworthy. And if you go through life and you're flaky, like 2 words for you, grow up. Like 1 Corinthians 13, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I talked like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. At some point, you got to put childish ways behind you.
So how do you know if like your reason is good enough to ask for your commitment back? Like maybe that's where I think potentially our listeners could be getting hung up on this, and it's where I could get hung up, is like something comes along. It's like, how do you know if this is like selfish of me wanting to say yes to this person because I think they're cool and want to hang out with them, or no, it is right, my mom's coming? Like, how do you know that your excuse is worth pursuing, or should you just say yes and that?
You have to make a decision.
Stay yes.
Yeah, I think indecision is a real problem. I mean, you need to pray through that and ask. And if you're not sure, you can bring in some wise counsel. You can say, hey, to your life group, your community group, small group, you can say, hey guys, I committed to Nate that I would go to the movies with him at 7, but now my mom's coming in. I'm thinking I need to break that commitment, but I wanted to bounce that off of you guys first. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah, I think that's helpful, bringing other people in. I can justify anything. That's where I like don't trust myself. So if I had like one offer, I was excited about it, and then someone else came on with another offer, I think I could almost justify, well, I never see this person, or they haven't asked me to hang out in a long time, or it's something I never get to do that would like seem like worthy of breaking that commitment to the first person. So bringing other people in might be helpful.
Yeah, every minute of your time doesn't need to be scheduled. Like sometimes it's good to have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And you can schedule the nothing, right? You can say, hey, this time right here, this is my time for God. And someone says, hey, can we go to the movies then? And you say, I can't. I have something scheduled at that time, which you do, and that's okay too.
Okay, so what about this kind of stuff happens all the time with young adults, college students at Harris Creek. They are up late on Saturday night hanging out with friends, maybe not even necessarily getting drunk. It's like they just stayed up till 1 a.m. and then they wake up Sunday morning really, really, really tired. And so they sleep in, and they're scheduled to serve in kids ministry, but then they don't. Like, I don't want to, imagine I'm a college student, I don't want to say, hey, I missed it because I was hanging out with friends till 2 a.m. So I just say, hey, I woke up and I was really sick. Like, is that okay to just be like, hey, I'm sick this morning?
No, I would just say, like, listen, you're not following Christ, okay? Like, you're lying. That's not, let everything that comes out of your mouth be absolutely true at all times. And when you make those small compromises, like those little white lies of like, oh, I don't want to tell him that I stayed up too late, so I'm just going to say I don't feel well. Like, that's a lie. It's a compromise, and you're giving the devil a foothold, and he's going to climb you like a ladder and devour your life. And so say this, try this. Say, hey, I was really irresponsible last night, and I did something super foolish, and I stayed up too late, and I overslept, and I am so sorry. Will you please forgive me? Or I would be completely worthless in kids ministry today and irresponsible if I came in because I'm so dog tired. Will you please forgive me? I know that I've hurt you in this. I know that I've really missed out. Like, the truth is always good enough. Like, say the truth. And if you're like, oh, I'll look bad, if I do, it's like, no, you don't understand. You look bad to the angels. They're being entertained. They know the truth.
Yeah.
And they're watching you and being entertained by you. And so when you say, when they watch you stay out too late, and then they know you're not sick, and you're like, hey, I'm sick. They're like, gosh, it doesn't seem like he's playing for the right team right now.
Yeah.
And two things to that is, like, the first, people can tell when they're being lied to. Like, we all
Sometimes,
can tell.
for sure.
For most part, like, oh, I got sick last night, or I woke up and I don't feel well. Like, you're going to be a little bit sus on that, as the kids say. But then the second thing is, if you do the more embarrassing thing and you own that you were irresponsible, you stayed up late, and you look like an idiot in that moment to the kids minister, you are less likely to do that again.
That's skibbity.
But if you...
Skibbity, Ohio.
I don't know.
I thought we were saying the cool kid stuff.
I feel like I was trying to say something like, you are going to look so dumb and be embarrassed and be convicted of your sin if you treat it like sin, that you're not going to be as likely to make that mistake again. Whereas I think the pattern a lot of my friends, even I, can fall into is white lying, or, making it sound okay to miss out on something, not telling the full truth. You're probably going to make that same decision later on because you didn't have any bad consequences from it. So if you want to grow in this area, when you whiff and when you overcommit or mess up in it, fully own it, and that will help you from making that mistake, I think, in the future.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little bit different topic, but in a similar manner, like with dating, if you're gonna break up with the guy after 2 or 3 dates, don't say, hey, just because I feel like I need a season of singleness or something, when really you're just like, hey, you just don't want to date that guy. Like, or like, hey, maybe there's something for us in the future, but I just need some time with my community right now or something. Like, just be honest.
Hurt people's feelings.
No cap.
I saw you smiling. I'm like, I don't know what he's gonna say.
No cap, man. That's Sigma.
That's Sigma?
Yeah,
That's
Sigma.
the first time I've ever heard that.
Any of the words coming out of your mouth.
Oh man, that's okay.
Surely you know what no cap is.
I have no clue.
You come on.
No top, no ceiling. Like, I'm thinking of caps, like the top of your outfit. Like,
Come on.
Yeah, no cap.
No cap?
No capital. Like, what does that mean?
So you really don't know what no cap means?
I have no clue.
How is that possible that she's on a young adults podcast?
Y'all should try to.
And she doesn't know
me again.
She's not leading one of the most relevant young adult ministries in the world.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
Not
You
yet.
are.
Not yet. Anyway.
Somebody, this morning, someone moved here to be a part. Did I hear this correctly?
Yeah, from Connecticut.
To be a part of the ministry.
No way.
Hey, young adults, come one, come all, move to Waco, Texas. Let's go.
Then I met another one on Sunday who moved from California. Like it's really not rare, which feels crazy, but it's like we meet people all the time who are here and they're like, I know probably no one's done this, but I picked up and moved from South Carolina.
They're committed.
Waco is the young adult hub. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Can I say one more thing about
Sure.
commitments? I think y'all brought up a good point when you said that if we don't keep our commitments, it shows that we're not trustworthy. Then how are we going to share the gospel? People are not going to believe us. I think also it's a core tenet of who like Christ is. He was committed to us. I have no clue what that means.
No.
Like I think
He was
you're
committed
agreeing
to us, yeah.
But like he literally gave his life for us, and he called it the new covenant he made with his blood. Like a covenant is like, it's not breakable. And so God keeps his promises. If we are to follow in his footsteps, if we are to become more and more Christ-like and more godly, that has to become who we are.
Yeah, he does everything he says he's
Yeah.
going to do. Yeah, it's like if you lived with like, hey, what if God was just joking about heaven?
Yeah.
Like, what if that's not real? Like that, you know? And so he did. He signed it in his blood, and it wasn't easy. He's, let this cup pass from me. He's
Totally.
sweating blood.
Totally. He
But
didn't want to do it.
But it says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning his shame. So, absolutely, I think as we represent Christ, as we represent the gospel, like we make and keep commitments.
This has to become a part of who we are.
Yeah, I think that's important.
It's great.
Well, I have another commitment to get to, so if we could wrap this.
Oh,
Whatever.
Well,
The commitment is kids.
see if
That's a
you can get him
pretty
back.
big commitment.
Yeah, it's good. All right, anything else?
Hopefully this is helpful.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.